Hello, everybody. Timothy Bailey from Project Learn, and Wilma is with me today. Well, the weather is changing outside. I'm a little chilly, so I put on a sweater here. Wilma is cold, so she has a sweater and a jacket here. But what does that mean? The weather is changing, chilly, cold, right? The temperature is dropping. What does that mean? Well, today we are going to talk all about temperature, right? To talk about and introduce this idea. We've looked at it before, talking about outside, about the seasons and the weather, and we looked at something like this. So outside right now, it's about 56 degrees, right? It might be a little warmer, a little cooler where you are. Right? And this gives us the weather for the days ahead. When we looked at this last time, we talked about this is a forecast or a weather forecast. What that is it's a weather prediction about the future. So the weather scientists, the meteorologists are telling us on Saturday it'll be a high of 56 degrees and a low of 44 degrees. But again, what does that mean? What is degree? What are we talking about? Let's go ahead and jump in and look. What we're talking about is a scale. A scale is a range of levels or measurement. And we have different kinds of scales. Here's a music scale. And the levels go from low to high. So when we read music, we know that these notes here are at a higher level than these. Not that they're played louder, but that the range from very low, such as whoa, to very high, right, is a scale, a range. Another one, closer to what we're talking about today, is this. This is a meat thermometer. So Thanksgiving is coming up in November. The person who is cooking the turkey might use this and stick this pointy end into the turkey to make sure it is the right temperature. Meat, often, particularly birds, poultry, you have to eat at a certain temperature to be safe. Well, for us, we're usually looking at something like this when we're talking about temperature for our own personal selves. And we have two kinds, two scales. One is this one, usually with the degree symbol here and an F of some kind. This is called Fahrenheit. That's how you say it, Fahrenheit. The other one, similar, same symbol here, the degree symbol with a C, and this is called Celsius. Celsius. There are a couple exceptions, I think, but for the most part, the United States uses Fahrenheit. Almost the rest of the world uses Celsius. Okay, so Fahrenheit, Celsius. And again, what does this symbol mean? Well, this symbol tells us, excuse me, degree, right? Degree, each level of temperature, just like in the music. So each level of temperature going hotter or colder, depending on which way we are going. So this is sort of where we are at right now, this nice picture, right? The leaves are changing. You can see they're changing colors. Hopefully you can go out. You can see all the wonderful changing leaves. Animals may be sort of acting different, right? Some flowers have come up recently. Others are going away. Here's the temperature, right? A little warmer than what I showed you it is right now, perhaps later today. How do we say this? So we're going to say 65 degrees. 65 degrees. This is one number, right? Not 6 and 5 degrees. 65 degrees. And we might say something like the temperature is 65 degrees out. A lot of times we don't say outside, we might just say out, right? You could also stop here. The temperature is 65 degrees. The temperature is 65 degrees out, right? And we might say that just to let people know we're talking about outside instead of inside. The weather person that you're watching the forecast might say right now the temperature is 65 degrees, okay? They're just telling you. One of the things that we often talk about when we're talking about temperature is water, right? Water changes. So this is just normal water, drinking water, the lake or whatever. But as it gets colder, water becomes ice. But when does that happen? Right? When does it become ice and not just liquid water, we might say? Around 32 degrees is when water starts to become ice. And if you have some water around where you live, a pond or a lake, it'll do that typically on top, right? You'll see ice starting to form. So maybe in a couple months, you might see some ice on the tops of water if you go to the park or somewhere like that. Now, if you're cooking noodles, you need to do this, right? Or boiling some vegetables. When the water starts to bubble like this is called boiling, right? We are boiling the water to make some noodles for our spaghetti. And when does that happen? Well, that happens at 212 degrees. Okay? And you can't see it here right now, but at a certain point, it'll also start to change from water that is boiling to this kind of water. And you have to be very careful because this kind of water can burn you. What is it called? Well, this is called steam, right? Steam. So it comes out of the tea kettle. It comes out off of the top when we're boiling water. Okay, all around 212 degrees. Temperature is also important for us as living things, as human beings, right? And mostly for children and for adults. Babies a little bit different, right? The temperature is usually thought to be around 98.6, the normal temperature, right? This is true, but there's something that's even better to remember. We usually talk about a range, so a temperature range. A range is not one thing, but a sort of minimum and maximum, right? So the normal temperature, you'll also often see this word abbreviated this way. The normal temperature range is somewhere between 97 degrees and 99 degrees. Okay. Now, imagine I have something wrong. Something is wrong with my body. I got a cold or something like that. I'm getting a fever, or I have a fever. What does that mean? Well, it means my temperature is going up. And we usually say that starts around 100.4 degrees, right? Now, fever isn't bad by itself, right? What it means is your body is working very hard against whatever is not supposed to be there, the illness, for example, that you might have, or the virus. However, if your temperature goes up to 103 degrees, this is a temperature at which you should most certainly contact your doctor. You always can, if you're concerned, right, contact your doctor prior to that. But many doctors will suggest that you rest and relax and eat or drink certain things to get rid of this fever, right? But if you check your temperature with a thermometer, right? Remember, like the meat thermometer, except you're not sticking it in you, right? You might just use it like this. At 103 degrees, you'll want to see your doctor. So what does this all mean? Well, when we're talking about outside, right, we can often think of activities that we might do or things we might wear. I told you I'm wearing a sweater. Wilma is wearing a sweater and a jacket here. Some of the words that we used, right, or might use, scorching, starting up here at the top. Excessively hot, exceedingly hot, right? And we go down a little cooler to just hot. In Ohio, often in July, it can be both, right, depending on the day. Warm, right, so we're cooling off, but it's still warm. Cool. Chilly, right, so I said I was chilly, right? Also depends on what else is happening. So the wind is blowing, so it makes the air that's cool perhaps a little chilly. Then we have cold. I said Wilma was cold. and we have freezing, right? So the two extremes really, scorching and then freezing, right, down here. Let's look at some pictures to try to put these into perspective, give us an image. So something scorching, you might think like a frying egg, right? A frying egg is around 145 degrees, right? Now, most of us don't live in a place where this is a regular temperature, but we often use the word, even when it's down here, right, with this idea in mind. It's excessively hot. Now, some places, however, like the Sahara Desert in Africa, right, can get around 117 degrees, right? So this would certainly be scorching, right? Scorching also sort of implies a very intense sun, right? You can't block out the sun. Right? It's so hot, and the sun is just beating down on you. Now, for many of us, we drop off in temperature, perhaps around 90 degrees, right? In the 90s, right? 90, 95. And we might be at the beach, right? Doing very summer activities, hot weather summer activities, going to the beach. And this is people on Miami Beach. So we might be wearing bathing suits, for example, right? Or men might not have a shirt on, no shoes on. Going down cooler, right? A little bit. In the 80s to 90s, we might be wearing t-shirts and shorts and sandals. This is the typical summer wear for many people in the United States. As it cools off more, we might switch to jeans and long sleeve t-shirts. And this might be around 70 to 80. Keep in mind that these temperatures and what you're doing all depend on the person, right? I may be chilly, but someone else from Florida, for example, might be cold today, just like Wilma is. Wilma's cold because she's a baby, right? So it just depends on who you are. Going down cooler and cooler, we might need a sweater in the 60 to 70 degree range, okay? When fall comes, people often get their sweaters out of the closet and put some of their t-shirts away, okay? So 60 to 70. And again, right, it might be 70 degrees, which is warm, sort of. It can be if the sun is shining brightly. But if there's no sun, if it's cloudy and the wind is blowing, 70 degrees might feel a lot cooler. So you might want your sweater. You might also want a light jacket or a jacket of some kind between 50 and 60 degrees, right? Again, if it's raining or windy, that might make it feel cooler, so you might certainly want your jacket. You might want your winter coat between 40 to 50 degrees, some people, right? Start getting them out, right? After this, then we start seeing snow falling. So certainly things do change when snow appears. We might get out our winter hat and gloves and scarves. Certainly between 30 and 40, right? Snow begins when water freezes, so around 32 degrees. There are other types of precipitation as well, and it depends where it starts in the sky. After 30 degrees, once we get down to freezing, really, for many people, things close, right? They are closed for the winter, right? They stay in their home. They don't often go out to do things. Once it gets to freezing, they go to work, go to school. Other than that, many people will stay inside if they must. Here are a couple links. So English temperature vocabulary. This is all about health, about body temperatures. I hope this was interesting. Think about the temperature when you're watching the forecast or when you're deciding what clothes you must wear. Thank you and have a great day.